Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This is Astral Zombie Rescue. Warning: this episode discusses my recent experience, and it gets to the nitty gritty of drug addiction and inner city blight and just the awful things that happen in these types of areas. So if you're not in a position to experience that, go check out one of my other videos. Moving on, Patreon. We have two new patrons. Jeff is an Astral Master and Sophia is an Astral Scout, and I thank them for supporting the work of Astral Club. If you'd like to join them, there will be a link in the description. And of course, you get no commercials, emails where we can talk back and forth. You can ask questions. You can share your experiences with me. And of course, you get advanced videos on Sunday. And if you like the video, why don't you hit the like button and make sure your bell for the subscription is on all so that you get notified on Wednesday afternoon and Saturday morning when there's new episodes. Recently, I ran across an article that involved Philadelphia, which was my old stomping grounds many years ago. And things have changed quite a bit since I lived around that area. And not all for the good, unfortunately. There's an area in Philadelphia called Kensington. You may have heard about it. You may have read about it. It's infamous at this point in time. Kensington is a neighborhood within the city limits of Philadelphia. It's located between the bottom of northeast Philadelphia and North Philadelphia. It's sandwiched in between. Now, it's gone through lots of ups and downs. Parts of Kensington have become gentrified and rents have risen and more wealthier people have moved in. But unfortunately, there are still many parts of Kensington that have just fallen into disrepair. There's homeless people suffering everywhere in that area, many of which are addicted to drugs. The current drugs of choice tend to be fentanyl and heroin, with fentanyl making major strides because it's a synthetic opiate that you can make in a laboratory that has very much the same type of effects, if not more so, than heroin does. So it's made in China, it's made in Mexico, and shipped into the United States. The problem with fentanyl is that the difference between an effective dose and an overdose is razor thin. So it's very easy to overdose with this drug. And Narcan is one particular substance that is used by medical personnel to block the paths of opiate type drugs and can save someone's life who's overdosing. But there's a new blight, and there's always there always seems to be a new trick around the corner. Evil seems to be all too human in form, as much as anything else. And there is a animal tranquilizer called xylazine, which is used to tranquilize various livestock, like cows and horses, for example, when they're undergoing some sort of veterinary procedure. And it is safe for those animals. However, it is 20 times more effective on humans. And in fact, it is not approved for use in humans for that reason, and also that it has an unexpected side effect of causing, what my daughter would call necrosis, or cause necrotic tissue, which simply means it causes open sores with dying flesh that just spontaneously pop up on your legs, arms, and this drug can be used in any number of ways. It can be inhaled. It can be it can be injected. There's a variety of ways to use it, and now it's being combined with fentanyl. So there's been massive numbers of overdoses and thousands of sufferers currently haunting, in more ways than one, the streets of Kensington. When I read about this, I couldn't help but be shocked, appalled, and moved. And I decided that I was going to return to Philadelphia, and in particular, Kensington, and see if there was anything I could do to assist. Because I know in areas like this, there's always lost souls who've overdosed and are still trapped in the lower astral, despairing, living in blackness and grayness. And it's just an awful existence that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. At any rate, I left my body and concentrated on that area of Philadelphia. And after a brief unconsciousness, I found myself flying above the city. And it was pretty easy for me to home in on the areas I was looking for, because they have a cloud that is around them. And it's a blackish, grayish, oily type of astral cloud. Something that just defies description in human language. That's the best I can get to it. So I landed there, and immediately I was besieged with feelings of loss, of addiction, cravings, despair, and I just automatically had to raise my shields and surround myself with light to fend off this unexpected, although I should have expected it, but this unexpected tidal wave of these awful negative emotions. And when I was able to do that and establish my equilibrium, I looked about me and started to walk through this area. Now, when you're in the lower astral, which is the area immediately above the physical, it never appears exactly like it does in the physical, but I like to say that it's as if the shadows of the physical world are being cast upon this lower plane in the astral. But if you've ever been in, one of these, when I was a kid, we used to go to this one amusement park called Dorney Park, and it had this wacky shack. It was like a haunted house, and everything was crooked, and it looked like it'd been like everything in there had been the victim of an earthquake, and that's what the lower astral often looks like. It's like a mockery of an area that exists in the physical. And it certainly was that in Kensington. I mean, the physical reality of Kensington is bad enough, but the lower astral is worse. I saw what I expected to see, but even then I was shocked. I was used to seeing souls wandering about looking lost, but I saw many souls in odd shapes, bent over in half, just hanging there. Some posed with their head up against an astral building, just standing there. One person was down on all fours, just crouching there like some sort of an animal. And they all seemed to be staring off into a distance, seeing something that was beyond my vision. Of course, I started going up to some of these people. I went up to the one person who was crouched down on all fours, and I could see it was a young lady, and it always brings out the father in me when I'm in these kinds of situations. And I said, "Child, what is wrong? How can I help you?" And she just stared off into space. I touched her and tried to give her some energy. I seemed to get a reaction, and then it just left her again. I asked, I tried to send up a signal for help, to please offer her help of some sort. But, you know, I'm always faced with this situation. There's always this belief that there's always this help that should be available for everyone. Unfortunately, that's not what I've seen. Many times you have to ask or request for help before it will come. And so, I hope that when I send these entreaties, these requests up, that someone will answer them. Although ideally, I need to get their attention and try to get them to request the help for themselves. I walked on to another person, and this person was a young man who had his head perpendicular to a wall, and he was just standing there. And I said, "My son, what is wrong? How can I help you?" And he just mumbled something. I tried to reach his mind, but it was surrounded in blackness and grayness and despair and longing and cravings. And it was almost as if he was in some deep hypnosis, but subjected to suffering at the same time. It was like a brick wall that I could not batter down. And it was so frustrating. I sent him energy as well, asking that he be helped. I moved on. I then found a young lady who was crouching down in an alleyway next to a building. Her mind appeared, when I reached out, to be more available. It didn't seem to be as absorbed or absorbed into this weird zombie-like state. And I sat down next to her, and I said, "Daughter, what can I do to help you?" For a while, I didn't think that she heard me. But then she looked over at me, and I could see this ugly red scar around her neck. I could see that she had been murdered, and that she was in deep mourning over this loss of her life. But it was even worse than that. She felt that she had wasted her life. She felt ashamed. She felt lost. She felt beyond the reach of help. And worse than that, she felt that she was not deserving of help. I put my arm around her and tried to send her calming and loving energies, like a father might. Slowly, she came around and she looked at me. And I asked her what her name was, and she said that her name was Nikki. And I asked her, why was she here? Why was she in this place of grayness and darkness and despair and suffering? And she looked at me so sadly and said that this is where she felt she belonged because she deserved nothing better. I told her that she was loved. There was all of the forgiveness in the world available to her. And that all she had to do was to accept this, to forgive herself for the mistakes that she'd made in the lifetime that had led her to this awful fate that she had suffered so young. She seemed to mull over my words, and she started to weep. You don't weep physical tears in the astral, but the emotion is shed nonetheless. And anybody close or sensitive nearby can't help but feel those deep, sorrowful emotions. When she was done, I told her again that she was forgiven and that she should now understand that and clear her mind and ask for help to move on. She looked at me with a thoughtful look on her face. Then a slow smile came over her face, and she disappeared. I don't know exactly where she went. I have some good ideas, but I can tell you that it was a heck of a lot better than where she was. If you can astral project and help these people, that's great. If you can't, please, if you have any type of beliefs at all, pray that these people have their eyes open to the forgiveness that is available to all, and that they receive the help that they need. That was the experience. If you appreciated that experience, please hit the like button. Share it with those who you think might benefit from it. Please be sensitive to where their mindset is before you send it to them. Once again, any comments or questions that you have, I'd be very interested in discussing them. And as always, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.